Okay, so today is a great opportunity. We are going to learn about how homesickness works and how it is related to business and how this affects our production and our productivity with our great guest today. Christopher, could you please introduce yourself and what do you do for business?
Okay, hi. So I'm the author of the Three M's of Burnout. I run a business called burnoutfighter.com. And what I do is I provide a solution or an approach to dealing with burnout as it is in the 21st century. And today I'm going to talk about my own experience with burnout because of homesickness, where I lived in China for 10 years. So it wasn't like I went from the UK to Canada and it's exactly the same culture, same expectation, same thinking. And it was a different culture. So I really felt that bang, that impact of burning out and because of homesickness. So
So,
let's go ahead.
yeah, so my first question, how did you feel and how was your experience with homesickness in the first place?
Well, homesickness is a strange thing because it kind of creeps up on you. And I think this is where it's hard to see the signs of just being annoyed with things in general. And then it kind of turns and it starts to change into, start to realize that actually it's to do with where I am right now and things I'm missing and conversation. And one of the main things was actually food and drink. Yeah, definitely you miss food, you miss drink, you miss certain entertainment, but really it's people understanding what you're trying to communicate and precisely what you mean. So if you're talking to people like I was in China who've never really tasted bread without sugar in it, and like their moral background or their value set is based on Confucianism, Maoism. It's not Christianity. It's not a long history of democracy. And it does really affect you because you're trying to explain why you would do something a certain way or why something might upset you or delight you. And they have no idea about really what you're talking about. So I don't know if you've heard of it, but there's a saying by Descartes, the French philosopher, and he says, if a lion could speak English, we would never understand him. And of course, he's talking about the language, just knowing language, it doesn't mean that you have the same point of reference or the same experience. And so that's really what homesickness is.
So that's for you personally. How did it affect you professionally on the business level?
Well, on the business level, professional level, it was really an effort to want to speak to these people because you really start with, you got two brains. You got your kind of you brain, and then you have your other one, which is the one for the culture where you're in. And trying to activate that other brain, it takes a lot more resources, it's a lot more effort, it certainly takes a lot more preparation. And you know, when you're going into business, usually they say that you should be prepared, you should have some style. But if you're going to go and do it and then you're in another culture and other language, you're then looking at the, I need to prepare certain descriptions. Do I have any kind of sayings or common story examples that I can use, I can pull upon to really express what I mean and why? And for an example, you know, business in like Western terms, we use a lot of, say, American expressions, which are based on baseball. And in England, certainly, and some other countries, we'd use, say, terms from football that are well known. And like we say, fumbling the ball in business, like means like you dropped it. And then if you're in another culture and they don't really have those sayings and they don't really use it or know of these terms, then you're trying to express a situation, but you think, actually, I don't have the toolkit to do this. And so I'm either going to have to invent one or research one. And I also need to, I think one of the main things is to think that whatever your meeting is going to be or thing you're going to encounter, it just takes that much more effort and you need many more breaks because each time it's a massive effort for you and a massive effort for them to kind of really understand what exactly does he mean. So that's my experience, and that's why being homesick, and of course there's that, and then you're going out and you don't leave the office and it's gone. You then go into an environment where the rest of your day is going to be this intensive situation where all of it's an effort, and that's what makes you really homesick and start to burn out.
How does or let me say the question another way. How did your emotions and your feelings during that time affect you?
Well, the thing is I started to become quite irritable, and I didn't want to do things anymore. And it's just simple things like certain politenesses, certain courtesies in the office or going around. And you think, I should do it. I know I must do it, but it's just an effort, and everything's doubles the effort. So you keep doing this every day, and you're getting more and more grumpy. You get more and more that one of my things that I used to do, and I knew a couple of other foreign teachers used to do, was when they had a few minutes, you put your headphones on and a video on, because you actually want to zone out and not have to go through the effort of someone trying to talk to you, because you think, I'm already making a lot of effort, I need a little bit of a break now. And so then, of course, you do it too much, and the other people start thinking, hey, you're actually quite unapproachable, you're quite unfriendly. So, and that doesn't help the fact that you're already feeling isolated, and you're already feeling, I can't communicate with these people. So it becomes like a very vicious cycle, and you start spiraling downwards. So that was my experience.
And from your experience, how would employers deal with this issue?
Okay, so I think, so the first thing for an employer would be take note of where they're from, and maybe if you can do your own research, just find maybe 5 or 10 sayings that are maybe relevant or general relevant or relevant to your industry, that you can translate, you can find online and have it translated, and give it to them as a toolkit. So say, I know this is a well-known saying in your country, this is how to say it in English, or the English equivalent, so at least you can express something more than just straightforward words. Another thing is for each meeting, include more pictures, more video, because it's easier to see what you mean. And also think about what I call cooling off periods or breaks, because if you're talking about something to do with, say, money, contracts, disputes in the office, it can be very heated, and you need time for them and for you to cool down and really have time to process what's going on. And if you have someone who's a bit more patient, or someone who's become like a friend as well as a colleague, then give that to them, to give them multiple other ways to really express it. And then give a few days for them to really soak it in. And certainly before any kind of meeting, give them a briefing and a debriefing, give them that text so they have time to look online, translate it, maybe discuss with a friend, give them time to absorb that information, because they're absorbing a whole different way of looking at things. And that's what takes the time. It's not simple as language. It's actually a whole way of doing and appreciating things, and it takes time. And then we talk about the stress level. So they also need some time to calm down and think about how to plan their next move. So it is quite a workout for someone.
So my understanding is that you are emotionally loaded, and like you're mentally, let's say, absorbed. You have a lot of thinking going around and a lot of emotions being burned in the process. Do you think that you have had the responsibility to pass your situation to the employers?
Not every time. So I have to admit, not every time. There's just a few times where I just thought, oh, these people are so stupid. They don't get it. And I'm saying that as somebody who actually speaks Mandarin. So, and I was feeling like that after I'd been in China and was speaking Mandarin for more than 7 years. And I still felt, oh, I even know the language. And I felt a little bit more pressure because the other foreigners around me, whether they were actually from my company or doing things with me, or just people I met, they're like, oh yeah, you speak Chinese, so I can use you and you can tell them what I mean. I was like, I can tell them to a certain extent. And then it's going to really be the fact that they've never experienced it quite like that. And so I changed to start to build up my knowledge of certain sayings or stories, so I can use that as a reference point. And that's the thing, the reference points. As for me, my real bad time of feeling homesick and burning out is I was waking up in the morning and I just, if how to say it, it literally felt like I couldn't keep my eyes open. It was a real effort to open up to this world that my mind wanted to retreat away from. And I actually, it's quite scary because I actually felt like I'm going insane because I felt a mix of all these really powerful, negative or out of control emotions that were just hitting me. And I was really actually worried that, and I felt like I'm on the edge here, that if I don't really make an effort to keep it together, I'm going to lose my mind. And so that's why I said, like, in certain mental breaks, like, it's you, for me, I really needed to have beer and curry, but because from England it's a thing that we do, but it can only carry me so far. So taking it further, like I was in China for a long time, you got to have planned breaks, and employers really need to see that when you give your other employees who are local a break, they're going to go to the next town or somewhere in that country. A couple of weeks is okay for them. However, for me, I was going to fly to the other side of the world. So I needed 3 weeks to a month. A week, I can't go anywhere in a week. I'm going to fly for 15 hours. Where am I going to go in a week? And then I got to get over the jet lag. So then for employers, really plan that, hey, I've got the guy here from Peru or somewhere. They need a month to go away, and put that into your plan and make sure they have the time to do that so that they really have that well-needed rest. And if you can't give them so many times throughout the year, just maybe once or twice, look, what's the main event of the year? I mean, if you're if you're like me, you're from England, you're Christian, Christmas, New Year is the big thing for us. So that would be the time to say, go home for a month, enjoy the whole time with your family. You'll come back, and I would come back refreshed, happy, and I've spent a significant time. So really do your homework on who you're hiring and what's going to be important to them. Because if you do that, if I'd arrived at a company and they said, we've already got a month booked off for your Christmas holiday, I think these people understand me. They value me enough to look into what I need. So this is brilliant for me. So, and that's what I would advise you to do.
So what main recommendations you would like to see from the administration, like taking care of this phenomenon?
Certainly the administration needs to make a policy for homesickness and burning out, specifically for your foreign employees, because what will come up, and sadly it can be brushed under the carpet of, yeah, he's just homesick. But the thing is, if you're feeling like that, then it's going to hit everything else. So you are going to see then depression, you're going to see bad habits to do with diet, drinking, smoking, and definitely burnout, because if the rest of their life is starting to fall to pieces, you're going to see the impact in the workplace. Whereas if you just put in a few extra things, a few sensitivities, a few keys for them to express themselves, and that special time that they can go home and really have the valuable time at home, then you can alleviate their homesickness, which will lead to their burnout. And most of all, you are communicating to them how much you value them. And if you want to spur loyalty, if you want to have the best people coming from all over the world to stay with you and enjoy being with you, there's no better recommendation that, hey, I'm in this place, I'm in a totally different culture. And you know what? They've actually put some thought into who I am and what I need. And it's the best kind of recommendation you can ever have.
Yeah, my other question here is on a personal note. Of course, you have had access to these sources of knowledge, of reading about this problem. How effective or how helpful can these things be?
Oh, this is a great question. They all could be helpful. However, they're not useful isolated. If you're just going to use one, like how I use mindfulness techniques, that's it, I'm fine now. You'll find that, like everything, it will hit its limitation. And because there's more than one area of your life and more than one setting that you're going to be in, you need a combination, you need to create a small toolkit. So I wrote an article on LinkedIn about office mind escapes, like how to take your mind off when you're in the office. That's suitable for there. But when you're somewhere else, like going shopping, it's not useful to you, you need another tool. So again, it's about, you know, really thinking and planning how you're going to do this. And I would say, since the companies are inviting you over, they know that local area and that culture and that work setting better than anyone. So they should set it up, and they certainly need to spend time to listen to you. Like when you say that, I really am worried about my apartment. If you say, I've already got someone, we're sorting the apartment for you, maybe 2 or 3 places, it's great, because it's something that you think, I know apartments, I'm not a baby, I've been doing this for a long time now, but when I come to your world, I don't know all the small details. It's still a stress for me. How do I deal with rent? How do I talk to my landlord? Are there any taxes I need to know about? How do I even check it's a good place? Or one of the main ones is, how do I know I'm in a nice area? So I can't know that, I'm not from there. So these are all like small detailed things that really you need to cover as an employee. And for me, it really annoyed me that in many cases they were rushing me to get into the place. And I think, but if you're in the business of doing this, why haven't you planned this already? It's looking very sloppy to me. So yes, that's what I would say.
So what are your main, let's say, messages about this topic?
So my main 3 messages are, for one, when they come, pay attention to their cultural setting, what's important to them, and plan some holidays, days off for them, because they're going to need it. The second is essential things like helping them deal with the apartment easily, like have, say, HR help any communication with the landlord and dealing with rent. Let them oversee that, because it's easy, you have the resources. Tell them where certain places they can go to find people of their own cultural source and friends is a very useful thing for them. Another thing I would say, give them a small team, maybe 1 or 2 very close people that will work. Say, sit next to them at work, talk to them, work with them. So they've always got a port of contact. You also need to make sure you put all of this into just a homesickness and burnout policy for your employees. Get that in there so that the leadership on all that, see, there is one thing here, we have planned this, and everything goes there. Because the last thing you want is everyone has got an idea here, an idea there, or a method here, method there, and nobody really knows what they're doing. But as soon as you whack it down that there's a policy here, we're going to discuss it, and we're going to make some guidelines and some rules how we're going to do this, then it becomes serious. And that means everyone else will be clear and they will take it seriously. And if you're going to arrive and they've already planned your homesickness for you as a foreigner, you're going to think, this is great, I love these people already, they've even thought about that. So that would be my message. And I have to say, I never ever met a place with any burnout policy, so let alone a homesickness and burnout policy. So that would be my idea.
Yeah, it has been a great idea, and I hope that everybody and every employer would take care of that, and we take care of homesickness and this burnout. Thank you so much, Christopher, for your time, for your great input. It has been really great.
Thanks, and enjoy your evening. Bye-bye.